Welcome to the Positive Growth Doctor podcast for women. I'm your host, Dr. Christina Wilson. I created the Positive Growth Doctor after years of dealing with societal expectations, self-doubt, and perfectionism. I leveraged my 30 years of experience as a positive psychologist to address limiting beliefs and gain clarity to build confidence and navigate obstacles to achieve a healthier well-being. I knew that pain all too well, so I empower women to achieve confidence and live a positive-centered life. Subscribe to the podcast and check out the earlier episodes so you don't miss a thing. And let's get to it. Welcome to another episode of Positive Growth Doctor podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christina Wilson. Have you ever experienced a loss that just rocked you to your core? Think back, think of a time and something so significant, like a pain like no other, to the point where you were so sure you were going to get back up. Well, that was me 18 years ago. In fact, the anniversary of my mother's death is this week. And for you, it might be a different type of loss. Or it might be for different reasons, or something just painful. A painful experience altogether that was just ending, right? So when you experience high-level pain, the kind that you fear that you might not come from, changes you, especially as women. And then in this episode, I dive into how those significant pain points in our lives change us and lead to us sometimes feeling stuck, oftentimes feeling stuck, and those thoughts and behaviors that don't serve us as a result. Also, I offer 2 ways to move closer to resiliency or achieve resiliency, even in the darkest of days. To find the full transcript for this episode on your favorite podcast app, and please share the podcast with other women to help them grow on their journey as well. Because, it feels awfully lonely out there, doesn't it? So that is a gift that you can give others. And the more the merrier, right? We're all in this together. You could also further that reach by just taking a couple minutes and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It means so much to me, and I appreciate you. So, how do women get stuck when they experience intense, painful life events? Well, what we know about resiliency is it is the capacity to recover from difficulties or adversity. And I've experienced a lot of challenging and adversity in my life. But the loss of my mother, that just left me breathless. Like it took my breath away for a while. She died at home in hospice care. And I do want to say this, hospice, for the most part, is really great. Okay. But there are those times when they drop the ball. I mean, it happened. Unfortunately, this was one of those times. She died a horrible death. No one deserved it. It didn't have to be that way. Not only did I lose the person that I loved most in this world, and I knew always had my back, I experienced a lot of undue trauma. So I had left my job months before that to take care of her. And we lived by the grace of God. We did. And I cherish the time that we had together. A couple of weeks before she passed away, she had suggested that maybe I go ahead and put her in a nursing home. And I had always promised her that I would not do that. And besides, like I said, I cherished our time together. And then she asked me, what tenacity you went and gone? You left your job to care for me, your career. And I told her, I said, you know what? It's okay because God always takes care of his children. She just smiled. So I got this call about a half an hour before she passed away from someone who had heard about me and my work. And they were looking for someone and felt like I was the perfect fit for them. They wanted to interview me. And I told her that my mom was passing any minute. And she said, how long do you think you might need? And I told her a couple of weeks to wrap things up. And she said, I will wait for you. Um, you know, take, the time that I needed. So fast forward 2 years later, several of us were laid off. It was during, a difficult time in the economy. And as resilient as I have been most of my life, I worked 2 years helping everyone else rather than recovering from a huge loss. And I tell you this because we make choices at the time that seem to make sense. Okay. That we don't always see the forest for the trees because all that heaviness that we've endured, we do not heal by ignoring and staying busy. Okay. We do not heal by ignoring and staying busy. And when we do that, we get stuck. In fact, a lot of perfectionism and self-doubt surface during this time. We heal when we put the work into it, as scary as it seems at the time, because all that is good will come out on the other side when we do. And we often wait out of fear, but we start now in that moment. We're going to get there a whole lot quicker. Never forget. And then there's no turning back. So, some choices prolong pain. They just do. And they prolong pain in women while others bring them close to resiliency. And when I got laid off, I decided I would just go back home to Charleston, a place where my mom and I had so many happy memories and we loved so much. And, we had an amazing church family there. And I thought, this is going to be a perfect place and time for me to heal since I had been putting it off for quite a while. However, many people had left the area or moved on, which isn't it's pretty common in the area that happened. So, I just thought, okay, this is a time to make new friends. It's going to be okay. And I got involved in a single ministry at the megachurch that I belonged to for several years. And it was the first time I had been a part of their single ministry. And one way to achieve resilience is through proximity. We don't get to the other side of this alone. Okay. And as human beings, we weren't meant to, even though we might want to. We weren't meant to. Proximity. Who we surround ourselves with matters. When we surround ourselves with people who get it or try to because we matter to them, we are able to heal and reach our goal. Now, this group was mostly amazing. And we would spend holidays together, eat this, celebrate milestones. It was great. And there was a small segment of this group that spent a whole lot of time together that was surprisingly hindering. They valued comparison and power. And when you're healing, or even if you are just trying to develop your best self or move past those inner conflicts that keep you stuck, your choice in your social circle can make or break your success. Okay? That is so important. So, two big predictors of gaining resilience is to consider proximity, right? Or those you surround yourself with, and the choices you make along the way. So important. I often use the age-old tool of writing down the pros and cons and making decisions. And it's always worked really well for the most part, and it doesn't cost a thing. Also, ask yourself, does this serve me or does this hinder me? And there was part of me, I knew that that portion of the group was hindering me. It was harmful to me. It was making me stuck, and it wasn't growing. It wasn't meant for me. Okay. In fact, I dive a little deeper and I say, you know what? Does this bring me closer to God? Because if it doesn't, it's not for me. Okay. Now that's my little test I usually do. And I'll tell you that is right on every single time. Now, I have created a Facebook group, and it's called the Women's Empowerment Group. For women to come together to learn, increase a healthy well-being, and support one another along the way. Okay, it is all about support and just loving each other. So join this next level community of women today, and I hope that this helps. Be sure to meet us back next week for another podcast episode. Have a blessed week.
Thanks for listening to the Positive Growth Doctor podcast. Be sure to leave a review and tell other women about the podcast. Let's support one another. Find the full transcript for this episode on your favorite podcast app. Watch the podcast on the Positive Growth Doctor YouTube channel and learn more at thepositivegrowthdoctor.com. And be assured, you are not alone on your journey